So NFL owners appear to want to shut something down that I think has brought some positive changes to how players are treated around the league. And of course, they have their own reasons as to why they want this to go away, but I think they missed the mark and hope that players continue having a voice for standards that need to be met and improved upon for every single team. Well, in today's video, I'll break down what's going on with that, talk about the New England Patriots continuing to stack up W's, look at a very key quarterback finally returning, as well as other injuries and storylines, plus the return of ESPN to YouTube TV for Week 11 of the NFL season right after. All right, first up, the Patriots handled the Jets with relative ease last night on Thursday Night Football. Ramondre Stevenson was out for the third week in a row with a toe injury, which meant it was Travion Henderson's time to shine, and shine he did. The rookie running back scored all three of the Patriots' touchdowns, 2 on the ground. Then he caught Drake May's lone touchdown in the third quarter for the hat trick. New England was riding the hot hand, having Henderson out there on 56 of the team's 62 offensive snaps, and that was the first time a Patriots running back played over 90% of the team's snaps since Ezekiel Elliott in 2023. And this is pretty impressive. Travion became just the 4th Patriots player in franchise history to record 200 or more scrimmage yards and 5 or more total touchdowns in a 2-game span. I saw a report from Dan Graziano of ESPN a couple days ago where he said that he expects Ramondre Stevenson to reclaim his starting role once he's healthy. But after seeing how good Travion has been, I really don't know how they can do that, but I'll let them figure that one out. What I do know is that Drake May is a legitimate NFL quarterback. His second-year leap has been something to behold, and last night, the young quarterback was 25 of 34 for 281 yards in that lone touchdown. Shout out to the offensive line, though. They only allowed 1 sack, and they gave Drake all day in the pocket. Of his 281 yards, 237 of them came on dropbacks in which he had over 2.5 seconds to throw. Pretty crazy. Stephon Diggs was his favorite target. He had his third 100-yard game of the season. I think Matt Stafford, to be honest with you, might be the MVP favorite right now, in my opinion, and he is balling out, so rightfully so. But I will say, Drake May is absolutely also in the conversation. I know it was just the Jets, but May's been playing at a high level basically all season long, and I am a bit sad that the Patriots already have what appears to be their long-term franchise quarterback, yet again, only 6 years removed after Tom Brady left. Yeah, that's annoying, but they are playing well, and it's impressive to see how much the veteran head coach Mike Vrabel has been able to flip that team around in just one season. Now on defense, the Pats did give up a couple of touchdowns, but nothing else outside of that, and it was never really close. Justin Fields had 116 passing yards, which for him isn't bad, believe it or not. The guy has had 4 games of under 60 passing yards this year. One of them he left early with an injury, but still, that is a crazy stat, and I'll just leave it at that there. John Mechie, he caught a touchdown after what looked like a breakdown in the secondary, and that was cool to see. Plus the newly traded for A.D. Mitchell, he got open quite a bit, was targeted 6 times, but he only caught 1 ball on the night, a couple of tough drops. You need to see more from him, but it's going to take some time. I still sort of believe in A.D. Mitchell, but let's give him another year, or at least the offseason in the Jets system. It's kind of a hodgepodge at receiver for the Jets right now with Garrett Wilson currently on IR, but I don't really think it matters that much when their quarterback struggles to throw for over 100 yards. Oh well, by the time it was all said and done, the Patriots won 27-14. The Jets dropped to 2-8 after coming into this week with back-to-back wins. Meanwhile, the Patriots advanced to a league best record of 9-2, for now at least, and they've won 8 games in a row, which is their longest win streak since Brady's last season with the team. But I want to stick with the Jets for a moment here, kinda. Their owner, Woody Johnson, as well as other owners around the league, are pushing to get rid of the NFLPA team report cards, which is wrong, in my opinion, and makes it look like both the owners and the league are trying to avoid accountability and have every team held to a higher standard in how they take care of their players. Regarding the report cards, I'm sure you've seen them and remember them, but the past few years, the NFLPA has released annual report cards for each team, with players across the league being able to anonymously grade their own team on various working conditions. Well, the owners have asked the union twice now to suspend the survey, once in 2024, and then again back in June of this year. The NFLPA, of course, declined both times. Then in August, the NFL themselves filed a grievance against the NFLPA. And now a few months later, the NFLPA sent out a letter to all the players making them aware of the grievance, but letting them know they don't care. They're still moving ahead with this year's report cards. The league is trying to have this matter heard by an arbitrator in December, with the goal of being a final decision made by February of whether or not they can continue doing this. Now, here's where Woody Johnson specifically comes in, because he does appear to be one of the owners spearheading this whole thing. Back in March, during the NFL league meetings, Woody called the survey, quote, totally bogus, and that it violates the collective bargaining agreement. Well, of course he would call it bogus. The Jets received the 4th lowest overall grade of any team, and Woody himself was the lowest graded owner. He called the survey unfair, saying it's not balanced and isn't representative of the players. But it's the players themselves. They're the only ones that are voting on it. So it is indeed representative of players. They're not all voting on it, to be clear, but more from every team are voting and participating in these surveys every single year. Now, I will say this. Another anonymous owner said it best. He said, the only owners who don't care or can't care for the report cards are the ones who get subpar grades. I also find it ironic that Woody Johnson called the survey unfair when just a few weeks ago he was publicly bashing Justin Fields in the media. Now, don't get me wrong, Justin Fields has earned his fair share of criticism, but that's something you typically hear from the media and fans rather than the team's owner. And then here's something else. Ownership sources have said they feel that the union only hands out general grades and not specific feedback. They think they're basically a tool used to mock teams without telling them which areas need improvement. But this makes zero sense, because the report cards are quite literally broken down into 11 specific categories. And under each of those categories, there's even more information that pertains to that specific thing for each team. So the reasoning falls short to me, and the reality is, this is how it's coming off. I don't think the NFL or owners like being put on blast publicly. Yeah, they have a standard for each team that every organization has to meet, right? But the surveys have revealed that some of those standards are still pretty subpar compared to how other teams treat their players. But hey, let me know if you agree with me on this. Do you think the report card should stay or nah? They are an unfair hit piece on the team and ownership because it's done anonymously and should quit being utilized by the NFLPA. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on that either way in the comments down below. And before I get into this next bit of news here, I gotta let you guys in on 3 of my favorite picks for this upcoming Sunday. Using Underdog, of course, the best and easiest place to play fantasy sports, and I'm feeling pretty good about these, especially after going 3 for 3 on my last set just last week. I'm going to be starting out taking the higher on half of a rushing or receiving touchdown for Josh Jacobs. This man has scored a touchdown in 8 of the Packers' 9 games so far, and they've got the Giants this week, who have given up the 3rd most rushing touchdowns in the league. Then JSN, Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, the man himself, has been on fire in 2025, going over 90 receiving yards in 8 of his 9 matchups. I'm expecting him to do it again this week, which is why I'm taking the higher on his 89.5 receiving yards. The Rams defense is tough, but they're middle of the pack against the pass, so I think he can get it done again this week. And finally, I'm looking for Devon Achane to top 99.5 yards from scrimmage for the 3rd week in a row. I'm taking the higher on that because the Commanders' defense, they're kind of a mess. A lot of injuries there. There's a lot going on, and they give up the 3rd most total yards across the league. I slapped a 50% profit boost on this as well, and if these 3 picks hit, I'll earn up to 2.72x on my money. And if you like these, you can tail by clicking the link in the description or pinned comment down below. Or if you'd prefer to do your own thing, you can make your own set of picks by selecting higher or lower on your favorite player's stats for a chance to win up to 5,000x on your money. And right now, any new signup that uses my code CBTH can play just $5 to get $100 in bonus funds plus a gimme pick in the lobby. Next up, a couple teams got some good news when it comes to the health of their starting quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson popped up on the injury report with a knee injury, which is new and was a little concerning given how much he's had to battle through injuries so far this season, and it didn't help the fact that he didn't practice at all on Wednesday, right? Well, after being a full participant on Thursday and Friday, John Harbaugh said he's good to go for their matchup against the Browns on Sunday. Great news. Baltimore has won 3 straight after starting 1-5. They're just 1 game back in the AFC North, and they've got the Browns and Jets up next. Then 4 of their last 6 games are against divisional opponents, but they do have a couple of tougher games against the Patriots and Packers. All that to say, they really do have a shot at making the playoffs, even winning their division, but that's going to depend on the health of Lamar Jackson, of course, so it's good to see he's able to go this week. The bigger story, though, is the return of Brock Purdy. Yesterday, Kyle Shanahan announced that Brock will be back this week against the Cardinals. Brock suffered a turf toe injury during week 1. Then he missed their next 2 games before returning in week 4. But it was a little bit too early, and sadly, he re-aggravated the toe. And that was the last time that anybody had seen him on a football field, at least, week 4 against the Jags. Since then, Mac Jones has held it down, and you've got to give him credit because he's kept them afloat, going 5-3 in his 8 starts. And I think best case scenario for most backup quarterbacks during long stretches, if they could just get you to 500, so 4-4 for Mac Jones, that would have been incredible. So the fact that he got him to 5-3 during the span, you got to tip your cap to Mac Jones. Over 2,100 passing yards during this time, as well as 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a near 70% completion percentage. Not bad at all. But Brock is the clear QB1. At least that's what they paid him to be in the offseason. So he's going to be out there if he's good to go. And he'll have one of his top weapons back out there with him because Ricky Pearsall is also expected to return after missing 6 games with a knee injury. They've got the Cardinals this week on the road, so a good chance for a W in getting to 7-4 on the year. So while Purdy and Lamar will be out there this week, CJ Stroud is set to miss his 2nd straight game due to a concussion. It's definitely not ideal that he's still experiencing symptoms nearly 2 weeks after the fact. I don't love hearing that and hope for his sake the effects start to clear up here ASAP. But with Stroud out, it's Davis Mills up again, and he did lead them to a crazy comeback win last week over the Jags after they were down 19 points in the 4th quarter. So we'll see if he can lead them to another win this week when they take on the Titans in Tennessee. That should be a favorable matchup for them. I mean, the Titans are 1-8 this year and haven't won a game at home, plus Houston already shut them out 26-0 earlier this season. I'm probably not going to be watching that game if I'm going to keep it a buck with you, but there are a few great matchups this week that I'll definitely be keeping an eye on. Bills and Bucs. That should be a good one. Both teams are coming in at 6-3. The Bucs just lost by 1 score to the Patriots last week, and Buffalo's coming off that pretty bad blowout loss to the Dolphins. The Bucs have never won a game in Buffalo, believe it or not. They are 0-4 there, and honestly, I think the Bills are probably going to take this one. I feel like they have to respond after that embarrassing loss last week, but this game is not going to be easy. They'll have to do it without Dalton Kincaid, one of Allen's top targets, who's been ruled out with a hamstring injury. Khalil Shakir is also on the injury report with an ankle and rib injury, but he's reportedly trending towards suiting up for this one. And if he doesn't or has to leave the game early or something like that, it's probably over, in my opinion. Now, unfortunately for Tampa, they're going to have to go another week without Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin, both of whom have already been ruled out. So once again, no Bucky, no Mike Evans, no Godwin, or Jalen McMillan. The Bills secondary will be keyed in on the rookie Emeka Egbuka, that's for sure, as he's coming off a 115-yard, 1-touchdown game. However, Buffalo's allowing the 3rd fewest passing yards per game, so Baker's going to be in for a challenge come Sunday. I think it's going to be close, but I do like the Bills here at home. The game of the week, though, to me at least, is going to be Rams, Seahawks, a couple of 7-2 division rivals, with the winner taking the top spot in the NFC West, at least for now. If you want an idea of just how good these two teams have been as of late, neither one of them have trailed in a game since week 6. Pretty crazy. LA has the 5th ranked offense. Seattle has the 3rd ranked. LA has the 2nd ranked defense. Seattle has the 6th. You've got 2 of the hottest quarterbacks in the league. Matt Stafford, who has thrown 20 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in his last 6 games. Wild stuff. And then Sam Darnold, the man with the highest QBR in the league. It's also a matchup of 2 of the top wideouts, JSN, who's 1st in receiving yards by a mile, and Puka Nacua, who's 3rd. Then Cooper Kupp is going back to his old stadium to play his former team for the first time, and I believe they're going to play a tribute video for him and everything, which is pretty cool and well-deserved for the Super Bowl 56 MVP. He did have a funny clip during his presser this past week, though. He was like, well, that's nice, I guess, but I'm not dead. Just was like, whoa, that was something, Coop. Anyway, I do think the Rams made the right choice in releasing him and signing Davante Adams, because even at 32, Davante has 9 receiving touchdowns, which leads the entire NFL. This is a tough game to pick, but I'm going to side with the Rams here just because they're at home, and I think Stafford has been playing at an MVP level as of late. The Chiefs and Broncos is another great division matchup. Denver is 1st in the AFC West at 8-2, and they could just about kill Casey's hope of winning the West with a win on Sunday. Casey's won the West every year since 2016, and obviously that would be a very weird place for them to be at if they ended up losing. 5-5, yeah, that's why I don't think it's going to happen. And I previewed that game on my channel. How about those Chiefs? My main channel, if you're interested in checking that out. But I will say real quick, the Broncos are out J.K. Dobbins, and he could be on IR. We'll see if they place him there or not, but he's going to miss the next few games. So just worth noting for any Broncos fans or AFC West fans out there or fantasy owners of J.K. Dobbins, he's out for a few weeks. That's a huge loss to the Broncos offense because heading into this week, J.K. Dobbins, I believe, was tied for 5th in rushing yards on the year. And then I want to get to the nightcap on Sunday. It's a good one. The Eagles are hosting the Lions in primetime. So we'll see if Philly's offense can get back on track after being held to just 10 points last week. Albeit, it was a win. A win is a win, yep. But A.J. Brown wasn't satisfied with that, telling the media earlier this week that they can't keep putting a Band-Aid over their issues on offense and expect the defense to keep bailing them out. I do get it to an extent. That was coming off the heels of the viral Twitch stream where he said if anybody has him in fantasy, they should get rid of him. And he's not really lying. He had just 3 targets for 2 catches and 13 yards against the Packers, and he's just outside the top 50 players in terms of receiving yards this year. Obviously not the type of production you're hoping for from a guy you're paying $32 million a year. And with all the off-the-field drama that comes with it, I wouldn't be surprised if A.J. Brown gets traded to a different team in 2026. As far as the game against Detroit, they're going to need to have a better offensive showing if they want to keep up with the Lions offense that scores over 31 points a game. Their O-line is back to being fully healthy. Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens, and Landon Dickerson are all off the injury report, so great news for Philly. But the Lions are the only team in league history to have at least 21 passing touchdowns, 13 rushing touchdowns, and 6 or fewer turnovers in the first 9 games of a season. Dan Campbell took over the play calling on offense last week, and they put up 44 points and a season-high 546 total yards. Granted, that was against the Commanders. They are very depleted, kind of on both sides of the ball, but if the offense can get close to that kind of performance again, then I like them to beat the Eagles on the road. Next up, I did want to briefly touch on some pretty good news for a lot of people that are enjoying college football or NFL, and that is the fact that Disney and YouTube TV, aka Google, have reached a new multi-year deal, and all of Disney's networks and stations, ESPN, ABC, all of that have already begun to be restored to YouTube TV subscribers. So that's great news because I was sick of not really understanding or knowing how to watch Monday Night Football. I had to watch it on NFL Plus on my phone because you can't watch NFL Plus on a TV. It's only a phone or a tablet. Maybe there was another way and I'm just an idiot, but I am glad to know that YouTube TV and Disney reached a multi-year deal. ESPN, ABC, and other channels are back to YouTube TV's 10 million subscribers. It was only 2 weeks, but still, great news there. And real quick, here's some injury news from around the league. Vikings edge rusher Jonathan Grenard has been ruled out for Sunday's game against the Bears with a shoulder injury, though it's not expected to keep him out long term. So some good news there, all things considered. Then J.J. McCarthy's good to go after being a limited participant in practice earlier this week with a hand injury. He's had a wrap on his throwing hand after he hit his own lineman's helmet last week, but he practiced in full today, so he'll be out there against the Bears. Chicago's linebacker TJ Edwards is going to miss this week with a hand injury of his own, though, plus a hamstring issue. Darius Slayton and Kayvon Thibodeau have been ruled out for the Giants ahead of their matchup against the Packers. Jackson Dart as well, though we already knew that it's famous Jameis season. He's going to be getting the start this week. The Bengals are going to be without Trey Hendrickson again against Pittsburgh, though the Steelers have a litany of their own injuries defensively. Darius Slay, Alex Highsmith, and Cole Holcomb are all ruled out. And on top of that, Drake London is questionable for the Falcons with an illness. But hey, let me know which games you are looking forward to the most in the comments down below, and maybe share some of your favorite picks with me and I might tail them as well. And with that, I'll see y'all next time.